Welcome to the Business of Thinking podcast. This is the place for high achievers who want more than motivation. They want mastery. Here we skip the surface level talk and go straight into the psychology of high performance.
Hi, and welcome again to the Business of Thinking. My name is Richard Reed, and today I'm joined by Chris Adams from CJA Consulting. Chris, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Richard. Good to be here.
My pleasure. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
Sure. So I run two brands. CJA Consulting is the one you mentioned, is my main business. And I essentially am a strategic growth advisor for professional services firms. So my career history has been working inside law firms, mostly doing marketing and business development. And so I've taken that now outside as an advisor and work with professional services organizations of all shapes and sizes around the world where they have some sort of growth issue. Usually it's because is run by a founder or there's someone senior in the business who just has too much on their shoulders, and help them to overcome that block and grow the business.
Okay, you mentioned largely working with business owners and the potential blocks. What are the kind of things that cause those blocks that get in the way? Obviously, there's their sheer volume of work, but are there sort of things in terms of their thinking patterns, the way they apply themselves?
There's probably a few different answers to that, depending on who it is. If I think in terms of lawyers, for example, that I've worked with, so the role of the BD marketing team inside law firms is essentially to support senior lawyers who have been lawyers all their lives, and one day they've made partner or someone senior in the business, and they're all of a sudden more a businesswoman than a lawyer. And so their way of thinking has to completely change, because they wake up in the morning having made partner and probably rub their hands together and think, I'm going to make a ton of money. This is going to be fantastic. And they probably will. But as soon as they walk to the office, the secretary or whoever says, we've got a complaint with the client, or got an email with the complaint with the client, it's now their problem. They never had to deal with that before, really.
Yeah.
They were more involved in those aspects of the deal. So that switch, has to happen in their heads. And that is really quite difficult. And that's why you do need people to support you quite a bit on that as a professional. So the same goes, I guess, for business owners. When I first started my business, that mental shift of going from an employee where you're almost told what to do, when you need to turn up, what day what time the day ends, and then switch to being an entrepreneur and running your own business. All of a sudden, you've got all these other things on your shoulders that you never had before, and you've got to learn them. So I guess the mentality again has to shift quite a lot as a professional.
And it's really interesting what you're saying there, because this applies to most people, doesn't it? That actually, as you get further up in your career, or as you set up your own business, it's not just about your technical skills. It's about how you manage people. It's about how you think commercially or otherwise. What are the kind of things that come up in terms of how it is that you help people with the commercial side of things?
So people very much feel overwhelmed. I guess overwhelm is how a lot of the people that I work with experience. And the overwhelm, I think, is because of the unfamiliarity a bit with what they've got to do, but the sheer amount of things they've got to do. So as a strategic growth advisor, I don't talk about the finance side of things. I work fractional CFOs on those finance side of things. So when I'm working with my clients is to make a business plan of clear growth, of what they really need to focus on, what they need to narrow down on in order to help their business or their themselves to resume growth. And generally, that's helping them to focus on who their ideal clients are and who the ideal collaboration partners are. Because once you work out who you want to talk to and who your clients are, then it really allows you to focus on what kind of network events you go to. It allows you to focus on who your social media is messaging. It allows you to say yes or no to speaking engagements or to, whatever it may be that are otherwise very, very time consuming. So you're kind of empowering yourself to have focus on who's actually going to give you ROI. And that's where I find that, sometimes people just got so much going on in their head all at once And it is just a matter of removing the irrelevant bits and making them realize what's relevant, what's not. And then they can move forward a lot happier and a lot more successfully.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It's having a sort of a common thread and focus to things, isn't it? And I guess it's very easy and tempting to chase that latest sort of shining bauble, isn't it? And go off track and expend lots of time and energy on those sort of things.
Yeah, let me do that for you. Let me make those mistakes. Let me spend my time on that.
Yeah, and I guess also when you're under pressure, sheer volume or the demands of the things that you're doing, we often don't tend to think strategically, do we? We tend to think about knee-jerk reactions. What do I need to deal with? What's immediately in front of me right now?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a long spectrum of that, a wide spectrum. And so I've since becoming a business owner, I've met a lot of other fellow business owners, and some are, I think the common thread is everyone's stressed. And some are stressed because they just don't have enough revenue coming in. They don't have enough to keep things going or to make them happy, to feel satisfied enough. On the opposite side, they've got too much work on their plate, and they're just drowning in the amount of work they've got to do. Yeah, the money's coming in, but they don't have enough space. None of these people have thinking space to really focus on what they need to do. And so I think that's what's quite interesting, is that no matter what, you do need some kind of relief or release.
Yeah. And I often talk with the leaders that I work with around that idea of reflection time, because it is really easy, isn't it, to fill every minute of every day doing things. And sometimes you need to take stock, not just in terms of where are we as a business, but how am I feeling? Am I making the best decisions? Am I in the right state to make those decisions?
Yeah, and to be honest, I struggle to practice what I preach. So I provide a solution to that. I provide a solution, but it doesn't mean I can take my own advice, because it is very much, I am now consciously very much trying very hard to block out a couple of days a week for no meetings, because meetings is what swallows up my time.
Yeah.
And what I've realized is what stresses me. So it's only doing some work with, an external person, a business coach, or talking to somebody that's beyond your business, where these things start to become clear. I can, for my own, in my own situation, I can hear myself talking to my clients and giving them advice, thinking, I really need to do this myself, but it's so much harder to implement for yourself. You really do need that external person like yourself, Richard, to just get that clear head, I think.
Yeah, and I was interested by what you just said there about meetings. Now, meetings take up an inordinate amount of time, don't they? And I speak as somebody who used to be a chief people officer for a law firm. It's very easy to fill every minute with a meeting and feel like you're moving things forwards, but actually it can sometimes be quite an indiscriminate way of approaching things, can't it? And often people come to meetings not having prepared anything, and it becomes a talking shop rather than something which is an efficient way of driving things forwards.
Completely. And I guess it depends what those meetings are. But as you say, you fill your day with meetings, but they're different types. So for those who are, running a business, or, when I say running a business, you could be a senior partner in a law firm or an accountancy firm. You're still running a business. It's small through to the small solopreneur. Those meetings can be networking events you go to where you spend time going to and from. And you spend obviously time meeting people, and the hope is that you meet a potential client, or at the very least, someone who can refer you to a potential client. Or it could be client meetings themselves where, as you say, if people haven't come prepared, you don't have a set agenda, then it can get very unwieldy. And so your day can fill up just with potential prospect meetings and with current client meetings, and you actually don't get anything absolutely done that's going to drive forward your client's business or your own. Yeah. And it's often human nature as much as anything else, isn't it? That we stick to the things that we know because it's comfortable, even when we know there are maybe better ways of doing things. And so people get stuck on this hamster wheel where they're constantly busy. And I guess to some degree we justify ourselves by being busy and thinking that we're doing lots. But as you sort of touched on there, it's not necessarily the most effective way to drive things forwards, because you're not choosing between things and raising them in terms of importance. Exactly. Yeah. And I think the hardest bit is to find how do you measure, how do you do that prioritization? You have to have something to measure that against. And that is quite challenging, I think, to do. And that's where I'm learning that I can help people the best from a business sort of point of view. But it's the same for people like yourself, Richard. You need someone to help you put that measurement in place that you can work. Yeah. So you've got to have something in place that you can measure yourself against and say, yes, that is a good meeting. No, that is a bad meeting. Yeah. And I think you often need someone externally to say independently, that's what you need to do. And then you can use it. You go forward and you don't need them anymore. Yeah. But yeah, that is the key, I think.
Yeah. And when you're doing the work that you do you get a lot of resistance? Because as we said, people can hold on to sort of tried and trusted methods, even if they're not particularly effective. But I guess also, part of becoming more aligned is potentially about letting clients go, isn't it? And I guess it's almost sort of counterintuitive to want to do that.
It is. It really is. And I was just thinking of an example last year when I started working with a lawyer, and she runs quite a small practice. And I remember the first meeting I had with her. I don't usually have that first meeting face-to-face where we're evaluating their business and doing SWOT analyses and stuff like that, because it's much easier do it online and record it and then be able to analyze it that way. But we did it in person. I remember one of the first things she said to me was, Chris, I don't know anything about marketing. You're the marketing guy. That's all on you. I'm just a lawyer. And I said to her, you're missing, okay, I am here to help you. This is my job, is to hear and support you and help you to grow your business. But it is your business. You can't remove yourself from that. People aren't buying me. They're buying you. They're buying your expertise. It's like going to the doctor. You don't go and see me. You go and see, or you, Richard, you go and see the doctor. The doctor's the one that says, take your shirt off. It's not, you don't want to see the salesperson. And I think people in professional services need to remember that they're selling themselves, their expertise, their knowledge, and you can't just pass that off to somebody else. So I think that's a really key thing to bear in mind, that people will help you and you have lots of resources, but you have to, in the end, it's down to you. It's your business. You're taking charge. You're the one that people want. I'm not sure if that answered your question, to be honest.
No, absolutely. I was just thinking about some of the work that I get involved with. So I do a lot of work around charisma and presence and gravitas and that kind of thing. And I'm guessing going by what you were just saying there, some of this is about those individuals as a brand, isn't it? It's not just about what your business does and how good it is in terms of providing those services. It's how you come across individually.
Yeah, and another funny story with that one is I remember 6 months into my business and I went to a personal branding workshop and I was very skeptical. I was like, what is this lady going to teach me? Like, I do marketing, I do BD. I've been doing this for 17 years. Why am I going to this personal brand thing? I was like, okay, I'll just go along. It'll meet some nice people. I had a light bulb moment, about 10 minutes in, when I realized that my business is called CJA Consulting. Those are my initials. But people aren't buying CJA Consulting. They're buying me. And my personal brand is by far the most important thing. And, I feel a bit silly now looking back at it. But at the time I was like, oh my God.
But if you don't know, you don't know it.
Like, no. And you, like I say, you just take someone else to tell you sometimes. So personal brand cannot be removed from a professional services business and from most businesses. People buy people. People, the best posts on LinkedIn and the most successful posts on TikTok and that sort of stuff have people in them. It's either someone falling over or something stupid happened, or like on TikTok, or it's a person giving advice, or a person, talking or talking to somebody else, or those are the ones that people want to see people. So that you have to remember that when you're doing your socials, is it's nice to have lovely photos of, rolling brooks and grass or whatever that may be, if that's what your business is related to. But you're far more effective to have people in there, your employees, yourself, or just people in general, because people are interested in people, even for gossip or whatever. You have that fascination, I guess, and that's what draws people in. And that's the same, I think, for your business. It's people first, it's you first, And then they're buying the service that you sell or the solution that you sell.
Yeah, and I guess that's a concept. Makes a lot of sense to me, but it's something a lot of people feel uncomfortable with, don't they? They feel uncomfortable with being front of house. They hide behind the brand of the organisation or the services that they provide. But I guess it's, in most industries, and law is one of those, it's a crowded market, isn't it? And up to a point, everybody's offering very similar services. So it's a differentiator.
Yes. I mean, I'm based in Dubai, and there is, I think I did some research a couple of years ago. There was around 150 international quality law firms here.
Wow.
And the population's got over 4 million in Dubai now, and the population of the UAE is about 11 million. But say it was about 3.5 million then. That is a lot of very big law firms for quite a small market. For population of probably the country's less than 10 million and the cities, less than 3.5. So, and the international quality law firms, if you talk to a partner from one versus a partner from the next on the same topic, you're pretty much they're going to have very similar qualifications, very similar level of experience. They've worked on very similar projects. The difference obviously will be the subjectiveness, how they interpret your matter and the advice they give. So it's always important, by the way, to get more than one opinion, especially in legal matters. But it is very hard to differentiate yourself, and it is the person that's going to make that difference in the end, because the knowledge is very similar across these experts. And to those, to kind of also answer the other part of your question, when people don't want to put themselves on camera, their faces on camera, I don't want to do TikTok or Instagram or something like that. Well, you don't have to. You have to be true to yourself. There is no point in going on LinkedIn on a video if that is not you and you don't feel comfortable doing it and you look
and it comes across, doesn't it?
It really comes across.
Really outside of your comfort zone, yeah.
Yeah, it's the best thing to do. Honestly, it would be the best thing to do after this video. But if that's not you, if that really isn't you, then don't do it. But you do need to find other ways to compensate for that. And they may be slightly slower burning or slightly slower burn or slightly less effective. But you have to be true to yourself in what you do.
Yeah.
And you have to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess in a way, it's a form of sales, isn't it? And often people see that word sales as being a dirty word, but you think about it in every walk of life, whether it's ostensible sales in the workplace or just in terms of how we promote ideas, even within our own family. It's all sales, isn't it? It's all about the perception that we create with other people.
Exactly. Yeah. And as I said, that's a lot of the professionals that I work with, that's the exact struggle that they have, because all of a sudden they've gone from being very technical people, and they still are, but that's what they've been trained to do over many, many years.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they've had to become salespeople, and there's no way to avoid it. You have to be, I'm not saying you have to go out and do conferences and be explicit and sell really blatantly and have all the ins and outs of sales. But if you're talking to a current client, you're still kind of selling them your service. Even if you're just advising them, you're still selling what you do. You're selling your knowledge, inadvertently. So it is all about sales. And so the business development and marketing teams in professional services, who, like I said, I worked with a lot, I find it very hard, Richard, to introduce myself to people and what I do sometimes, because when I say I do marketing and business development, I feel I really need to clarify then that it's not sales or not explicit sales, because, as we said before, I'm not the salesperson. I'm helping the person, I'm the senior net partner or whoever it may be, business owner, to be a salesperson. So it's a slightly different kettle of fish. But the clue is there in the name, that the support of a business person is marketing and sales, or marketing and business development. So you can't get away from it. Right, you're right.
Yeah. And as you were saying earlier, I guess part of the battle, and something that's really important in all of this, is to make it clear to people that actually they've got to own it, haven't they? So yes, you may be the marketing and business development person, but actually they've got to earn it. They can't own it. They can't just hand that over to you and say, right, there you go, run with that.
Exactly. They absolutely have to be fully involved. The idea of working with people, external consultants and advisors, is so you do take a lot of that off your plate. So you can focus on being a lawyer or a doctor, an accountant, or, coach, whatever business you're in. So yes, you need to use those resources. Just at the end of the day, you need to work with them. They're not working for you; they're working with you, I suppose, is probably the best way to say it. And they will, if they do a good job, they will take a lot of stuff off your plate and get things done and come to you for the most important bits. But especially, I would say, you need to invest the time at the beginning of that relationship with that professional. There's, when I talk about the strategy work that I do a lot, quite frankly, it's been a bit of a hard sell, because a lot of the people I go and talk to, they think marketing, and they think, okay, we're going to do a social media campaign, or we're going to get me out there in lights on social media, or we're going to do email outreach or whatever. And yeah, we will, but you've got to do the strategic bit first, because otherwise, as I say, you're kind of that, what's the expression in the UK, spray and pray. You're pretty much spraying and praying if you haven't actually analysed who your target audience is first. And for professionals, equally importantly, if not more importantly, who your referral network is, because they're the ones who are going to sell you in. They're the ones who, if they understand what you do, they are the ones who are going to tell the 10, 15 other people that they meet that day about you and what you do. And that 110% beats all the social media or all the thought leadership or whatever that you could ever possibly do. Where that other work comes in, the social media, the thought leadership is to be found, and also it's a credibility check. So that when, say I meet someone and they need a coach, or they need someone who, does what you do, Richard, essentially. I might say, I know this great guy called Richard, and he's really helps people in their businesses to grow, to think about the psychology of where they're strong, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, you need to find out more about what you do, but the essence of it is they will believe me. If they trust me, they'll believe me, and that's, I've got you 95% of the way there. But that last 5% is, if they're smart, they're going to go and do their due diligence. They're going to go and look at LinkedIn, and if they find you, that's a good start. If they find you and you're, a psychologist, for example, but you're talking about football or something, then they're going to go, okay, that's not really relevant. That's not what he does. Or worse, if you don't exist at all, or if you've just got no photo or anything. It's very, very easy to just do a little bit of thought leadership every now and then. You don't have to go to do it on camera. Better if you do, but you don't have to record it. But write something. Write what you're thinking. Just tell people what you're thinking. Tell the clients that are coming to you the questions they're asking. Just kind of share those publicly. Obviously, don't divulge the full details, but the concept is very, very easy for a lawyer, for example, who's just had a call with a client who's asked an unusual question and think, wow, that's interesting. Let me just write that down and let me just put a post on LinkedIn about that, and how they solved it. And to guarantee you, if one person has that problem, 10,000 others are going to. So it's a win-win, because people will find you. They will be searching and they'll find you, talking about that piece of information.
Yeah. And I think often the way that you write or the way that you show yourself on video gives a little bit about your personality, doesn't it? It makes you
very true.
A little bit more relatable.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think in the melee, people often forget about things like LinkedIn or posting on questions from clients, but actually you can make this a systematic part of your process, can't you? That actually, this is something I do when I have those situations. I go and I post.
And it actually doesn't take that much time. It's really not that difficult, and a lot of people have support for it. That you'll never know someone if it's if it's the writing bit, you can probably do, as most professionals can do the writing bit and jot the idea down, and even just dictate it to ChatGPT or something, or to Google, whatever it may be. Just if you think of it, dictate it to it. It'll write it down. All you've got to do then is pretty much copy and paste it onto LinkedIn. If you need graphics and stuff like that, then it's so easy to get someone to do that for you. I'll have those prepared already with someone else. Costs you nothing to have those ready to go, and then you just copy and paste your thoughts and off you go. And you've done your post for the day, you've done your post for the next few days, and you've got yourself out there.
Yeah. So with these sort of things, it can feel quite daunting for people who aren't used to it. But it's that sort of incremental, repetitive approach, isn't it, that makes it a natural part of what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as I say, it can just be part of what you're doing during the day. It can be the insight could come from a client meeting or a conversation or something you've read. It doesn't even have to be a long article. It just has to be a thought you've had that's, if it's coming from your head, it's original. So you don't have to worry about AI slop, as they call it. If it's coming from your mind, it's original. So it's good.
Yeah, and it's getting comfortable with doing that, actually revealing a bit of who you are. And I think, in so many industries, and probably traditionally law has been one of those, it is about trying to present yourself in a professional way, but sometimes the personal element gets lost in that. So it's just a sort of addressing that, sort of recalibrating that slightly.
Absolutely, yeah. And the other thing, I guess, is getting out from behind the computer, because it's very easy, especially as lawyers and accountants and things like that, to just get stuck behind the computer day in, day out.
Yeah.
And it's comfortable. It's comfortable for most of us because, you can deal with people online, and if you need to talk, or you just get to do your work. But it is quite important, I think, to actually get out and meet people occasionally, because then people do get to know your personality. People do get to know you. So part of the work I would recommend, when people we've identified their ideal clients and their ideal referral partners, to then work out what kind of networking events they need to go to, or what kind of seminars or whatever that don't take too much time, but are relevant and get you out there and get you thinking. And it's amazing the ideas you get from other people as well. Just from having a conversation with someone is how you sometimes come up with your best ideas, or how you can bounce off some of the issues you've been having and find out other people are having those same issues. And it can just speed up your life and your work so much.
Yeah, so true. I was just thinking, as you were talking there, you were sort of talking about sort of people being stuck behind a computer screen. I guess some industries, particularly some professional service industries, I guess they naturally attract certain types of people, don't they? Certain types of personality. It might be, for instance, it might be a bit of a sort of a cliche, but something like accountancy might have more than a disproportionate amount of introverts. And so things like posting on social media, going to networking events could be quite challenging, couldn't it? If that's not sort of your typical way of operating.
Yes. And again, you've got to be true to yourself, but you've also got to push yourself a bit, I guess. But I mean, you can, if you're in that position, you're an accountant and you're very introverted, go and hang out with other accountants who are also introverted and feel like that. Start there, and again, that's going to be probably your referral network. Even some of your competitors can be your referral network. So again, you go and hang out with people that fit you, fit your personality, and like you. Know, like, and trust is what you need to look for, and then you can build onto going to people you maybe not so comfortable with. But again, I often think if you've targeted your business, if you know who you need to talk to, then they're going to be people you can talk to. If you know your audience, then they're going to be the ones who you're going to be able to have a conversation about professionally, if not socially.
Yeah. They're going to be more receptive to your message, and you're going to know what your message is. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So any other thoughts or tips for people who are listening in terms of where they might go with some of the ideas that you've suggested today?
I think make a plan. I think just have some kind of reflection on where you're struggling at the moment. If if you're struggling to get enough clients through the door, you're struggling with revenue, or just struggling to get out of bed in the morning, do some reflections on maybe what's causing that and where that's coming from, and then you can flip that around and work out what you need to do to kind of fix that. And so there's people obviously who can help you to fix that. But AI is honestly, if you're willing to have a chat with ChatGPT or Claude or whoever, I've found it personally amazing just to just bounce some ideas off, or just like a problem I can't get out of my head, just say, this is my problem, this is what I'm thinking. What can I do about it? And oh my God, the inspiration. I mean, it's not like talking to a person, which is got a real personality, but logically, it takes the emotion out of it a lot, and some of them can be a little bit EQ. But I think that's a really good starting point. Is to just, if something you feel needs to change, or you don't know what needs to change, just put it down on paper if that works for you. But otherwise, use one of the LLMs and just talk it out for 10 minutes and see where you get to.
Yeah, and it's interesting that sometimes when you try and explain a situation or a problem to somebody, even if they don't give you the solution, just the very fact you've got to explain that in detail and break it down, it helps you to get more clarity on your situation.
Yeah, and I love how you can write it or you can dictate it. But most of the LLMs you can talk to. Some of them talk back, which is not always the best, but that you can do it however you want. And I think the voice thing is underrated, because I often try and type, and when you're formulating your thoughts, yes, you're right, Richard, it does help you to really nut down the problem. But the good thing about the LLMs is you could just go blah, 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 and your thoughts can be here, there, and everywhere. It doesn't matter. It pieces them together. I don't know how, but it pieces them together.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And so I think they're great from that point of view. Obviously, you've got to think about privacy and don't disclose client details and all that sort of stuff. But but for as a starting point for a high level problem, it's you can talk to a person ideally, but otherwise talk to your friend Claude.
Yeah, good tip. And in terms of your work, are there any sort of things that you've got coming up in the near future that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, so as I said, I've got two brands that kind of complement each other. So CJA Consulting, as we've talked about a bit, we do strategic growth advisory, basically. And that's very much aimed at professional services, B2B. I say lawyers, doctors, accountants, coaches, anyone really who has that model where they sell their service for an income. So like I said, a lawyer who gives legal advice in return for money, accountants give accounting advice, coaches coach, doctors doctor, whatever they may be. Yeah. Then Muhami means lawyer in Arabic. So Muhami is a platform that I've created online, muhami.ae, and it is a legal knowledge workplace. So when I first started talking to potential law firm clients, I said to them, like, what do you need help with? Where's your real stumbling point? They all said, Chris, we need more clients. And with all the best will in the world, I can't say, you will build you a great website, we'll do some lovely social media for you, you go to all these events and you're going to have 10 new clients tomorrow. I said, it just doesn't work like that for professionals generally. If a doctor doesn't get visited just for fun, the patient has to have some kind of issue. A lawyer doesn't get involved just for fun. It's because there's something really good happening, a contract being signed or a deal being done or a company being sold or you're being sued or something like that. So lawyers need to be in the right place at the right time, for example, and they need to have a client with a need. So Muhami sits in the middle where if you have a legal question in the Middle East particularly, but hopefully more globally, you can go there, find an answer. If you can't find the answer, you can come to me or you can come to one of the lawyers on the site and they can help you out with your legal issue. And there's quite a lot of information on there, which has worked quite well for everybody because lawyers traditionally give, say, half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour of free consultation to help decide if they can help you. Yeah. It's as much for them as it is for you. But that's, sometimes half an hour turns into 45 minutes, turns into an hour and a half. You times that by 10 during the week, and that lawyer's got very little time. So what Muhami does is it does actually give quite a lot of information so that if your problem is at the level that you're able to self-service, then that's great. A lawyer would never have been able to bill you for that or never have, had needed to take you on. So it's a great win for the client. It's a great win for the lawyer. And if you do, then you step up. So yeah, that's seeing a lot of love from the LLMs and from Bing and from Google, which is great. And it feels like we're helping people as well. So
fantastic.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Brilliant. And where can people find out about that?
So www.muhami.ae, so muhami.ae. I also run a podcast called Muhami Matters, which focuses a lot on business, basically helping businesses. So similar to you, Richard. So we'd love to have you on to
love to be on.
To do this in reverse and find out about what your insights as well.
Yeah, love to. Thank you.
Yeah, so Muhami Matters is available on the Muhami website and across YouTube and social media platforms or podcast platforms.
Fantastic. We're just coming towards the end now, Chris. Any final thoughts that you want to leave people with before we wrap up?
I think if you feel like there's a lot on your shoulders as a business person, as a person, as a professional, whether it's personal issues weighing on you, business issues weighing on you, then get some help. Ask people for help. Ask specialists for help. A lot of and build up a good collaborator network, because often you'll find those other experts there who'll help you for free at no charge, give you free advice and just set you on the path. But if you're serious about it, then find the right advisor that's going to be able to help you solve your particular challenges that you're having.
Brilliant. Chris Adams, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated, Richard.
This is the business of thinking. Mastery doesn't end here. See you in the next episode.